Kia ora, good morning. Welcome to Connecting the Dots podcast. This morning, I would like to talk about something I was having a discussion with a friend last night about because I was showing them what was happening to them and why it was happening and what they could do to counteract it, to fix the problem. And it got me thinking, and I thought this is the perfect podcast to do because I know that this is something that affects millions of people out there, millions and millions of people out there, especially if you're empathic or creative empathic. You know that I always talk about how the paranormal is basically people dealing with the consequences of living with inside the Schumann resonance. And what I do in the supernatural realms is the gifts and abilities that you get when you're dealing with the atomic frequency or the God frequency, as physics calls it. I used to call it the creation frequency, or sometimes the gold frequency, because sometimes when I'm documenting my experiences for scientific research purposes, and that you'll see little golden lights, and I always say that the atomic frequency is made up of golden light, pure light, pure golden light. So anyway, when you're dealing with the occult, when you're dealing with emotions, when you're dealing with biorhythmics, when you're dealing with learning to balance your biomagnetic frequency with your biometric frequency, so your physical surroundings with your conscious growth or growth of consciousness or your ascension, that sort of thing, because, your biometrics is the controlled by your pineal gland, and it is responsible for how you connect to your loved ones on the other side, how you connect to your higher self, how you connect to faith, God, religion, all that sort of thing. Your pineal gland is solely responsible for maintaining the frequency and the strength of frequency, in order for you to be able to communicate with everything that is out there in the atomic frequency. And because quantum magnetics, at its fundamental core, is the ability to be able to manipulate time in order to manifest reality. Now, that's the supernatural version. That is the positive scientific version, and I have put plenty of examples up. I have just put one up. I've just put a tweet up. I'll put the link in the description box below in regards to the Quantum Menace, the comic book and video game that my boys and I are making. In regards to some of the people that I've recently realised that I have written these people into my comic book years before I met them, because as you know, I keep saying when I see it in my head and I write it down, I manifest it into reality, and I'm proving that because that's what, quantum magnetics is. And so I put examples up, and I've just put big examples up on my Twitter account. And I'll put the links for those in the description box so you can see what I'm talking about. The messages that I put in them are only going to resonate with the person or people that I'm talking to now, whom I didn't know back then when I left the messages, but I knew they were out there, and I knew at some point these messages were going to make sense to them once I met them. And I've just met them, and these messages were put out 3 years ago. So, I have done all of this, even though at the time a lot of people thought I was nuts because they didn't know who I was talking to, because I understood quantum magnetics. It takes time for existence to catch up to reality. I always say physics takes time, or my physics takes time. But it does take time for existence to catch up with reality, because you have to put the codes in your life, your binary codes that trigger every action and reaction that your mind and body does, has to be in perfect sequence in order for existence to catch up with reality. As existence being everything out in the atomic frequency, reality being everything that's in the within the confines of like the Schumann resonance. Or if, like me, you're not susceptible to the Schumann resonance, everything that is sort of within your 3D reality outside of the matrix. Now, the topic that I want to talk about today is all about the ability to tap into the human mind, to tap into someone's biometric frequency, mind control versus mind meld. Now, if you want to look at it from this perspective, anyone who resonates within the Schumann resonancy, um, the ones who are able to, like the people who create paranormal activity or are susceptible to it, poltergeist activity, through to narcissists, through to people who use black magic, people who, devil worshippers, people who are very dark and twisted of the mind, like with covert narcissistic abuse and that sort of thing, people who use hypnotherapy in order to plant suggestions in people's mind, that would be the mind control side of it. That is juxtaposed to mind melding, which mind melding is where you use your thoughts to blend and merge with somebody else's. And I like I said, I put examples of that up on my Twitter, because I can guarantee that the people that have realised what I know for a fact, that the people who realised that I saw them coming 3 years ago and left messages for them and wrote them into my life, into my comic book, and that 3 years before I met them, like their minds are blowing, like they can't believe it when I show people, I saw you coming, sort of thing, that like their minds are blowing, because it's proving the supernatural is real. It's proving quantum magnetics works. And, like I have always said, that I wondered whether quantum magnetics couldn't be used in order to cure people of certain mental illnesses or psychological imbalances, because of how I know that the biometrics of quantum magnetics works within the confines of the psychological mind. And so what happened was, last night I was talking to a friend. We were having a laugh, like we were having a good old laugh, like sort of the sort where you have tears running down your face kind of laughing. And then all of a sudden, just out of nowhere, they they hit a low. They were, busy being creative and getting into the imaginal realms and that, because they were on such a high, which is, that's what happens with creative empaths. We get a high naturally from doing the work that we love: writing, art, sewing, cooking, whatever your medium is, whatever your gift is. When we tap into that frequency, we are up there in the which is why I called it the creation frequency, because when you tap into the atomic frequency, you become incredibly creative, and you are so inspired, and everything that comes out of you is pure intuitive. We get a natural high, so we don't need to do drugs and alcohol and that sort of thing, because like we get a high off what we create. But the trouble is, because most creative empaths don't know how to control their biorhythmic frequency, when they are going through their ascension cycles, when they go through their dark nights of the soul, or have a trip to the underworld, or they have like a glitch in their matrix or whatever, it can set them back. And then if they don't know how to get themselves out of it, they will turn to things like drugs and alcohol and negative behavior, or like self-deprecation, self-punishing, that sort of thing, because they go to such a dark place. But because my ascension sciences and that basically show people how to get themselves out of that, so that they don't do harmful things, or, do things to set their ascension back. I put all of this out there to show my creative empaths, or my mutants as I call them, how to get themselves out of it. So basically, like last night, we were having a laugh. They went off to do what they were doing, and then all of a sudden they just hit this massive wall, and they came back to me in quite a dreadful state, and they couldn't understand what was happening to them, because like one minute they were perfectly fine, and then the next minute they were having very dark negative thoughts about a particular person in their life, and the stuff that was coming out of them was like so the complete opposite of what we had just experienced, and they didn't understand what was going on. And so I talked them through it, and I just explained to them basically what happens is when you're dealing with someone who works within the realms of mind control, so like a narcissist, someone who works on the dark side of the occult, devil worshippers, even like management do it. This is one of the things that they talk, management speak. One of the things that managers do and bosses do and CEOs of companies do is that they will use like a form of covert mind control in order to bend your will to suit them. They will try and bend matter to suit their will. They will try and bend matter, bend your mind to suit their narrative to get what it is they want from you out. So, for example, just say you've broken up with someone or you're having an issue with a boss at work, and you're avoiding them and you're trying to heal and deal, heal with it and deal with it, and everything's going really well. You've removed yourself from that toxic cycle and you're trying to just get on with what you're doing, and then all of a sudden you're hit with thoughts of like, maybe I was wrong. Maybe I shouldn't have reacted that way. Maybe I should contact them. Maybe I should try and sort this out. Maybe, we could get back together. Maybe I should give the job another try. Maybe I shouldn't leave the company and go back and apologize to the boss because I have to accept my part of the responsibility. Or maybe I was wrong. Maybe I need to look at the facts. When you start doubting your intuitive moves, that's mind control, because what's happened is at that moment they've thought something out, and then you've picked up on it, and because you have to meet people on their level, because they are lower vibrational than you, because you run purely on instinct and intuition, so that is atomic frequency. Well, your intuition is atomic frequency. Well, no, your instincts are too, kind of. I mean, technically. Your subconscious kind of is too, if it's a healthy subconscious. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangerine. So if all of a sudden you're doing really well and then you get hit with that feeling of self-doubt. Did I make a mistake? Did I do the right thing? Should I contact them? Like, should we work this out? Like that sort of thing. That's because they've sent thoughts out to try and bend matter, to bend your will to suit their needs. So then you will then think, oh, well, I've got to trust my intuition, thinking it's your intuition. So then you'll contact them and then all hell breaks loose and then you're back repeating the same negative cycles. And this is what I was explaining to my friend last night. The fact that those dark feelings came out of nowhere means that the person was targeting them. They were trying to, through their anger and their rage and their need to want to control the people around them, they sent that negative thought out, and their immediate reaction was to sink to that person's level and go to a dark negative place that is below the normal thought patterns of this person who is really working so hard to try and maintain a higher, intuitive vibration, because I've been through a lot, and because I could identify, because I've got quite a few people in my life that have come to me over the last few weeks who are dealing with a lot of the same issues, especially because, when I put that video out about abuse in the games industry and dealing with narcissists and all that sort of thing. So I'm helping a lot of people through how to deal with it. And this is what I've been saying. And so I thought, well, for the ones out there who I know listen to my podcast, who are dealing with this stuff, this is what you need to do. You need to recognize that when everything's going really well, and then all of a sudden you're hit with a negative thought about someone who has wronged you, someone that you know is toxic, the fact that you had to remove yourself from them is proof enough that your intuition was telling you that they were not on the same frequency as you. When you are dealing with people who aren't on the same frequency as you, it's the equivalent of putting two magnets of opposing forces back to back. You know, they push against each other, they push away from each other. Biomagnetics, your biomagnetic frequency, your biomagnetic parameter is no different when you're around people, because we are atomic in structure. We are made of negative and positive ions, and we are surrounded by negative and positive ions. And when you're around negative people, the positive ion particles in the atmosphere will completely be opposed to your negative ions within your biometric frequency. So even though you know you shouldn't be around them, every time you're around them, they pull you down, which is why I say, you know, when you're around people and you all of a sudden within like 24, 48 hours become really down and depressed and you don't know where it's come from, it's because within the last day or two you've been around someone whose magnetic frequency is the opposite of yours. So like they are the version of sticking two magnets in the in opposing strengths, you know, like putting a negative to a positive, they push away from each other. So you're the negative and they're the positive, because when it comes to you know, higher vibrations and that, you want more negative ion particles in your surroundings and positive ones. So you're around people who are the opposite of your frequency, and in order for you to get on with them, in order for you to make peace, you have to come down to their level, which means you then start picking up on their dark thoughts, their dark actions. You can even, it is very possible for you to take on memories of these people that aren't yours. And you won't know why you're having these memories and these feelings and these flashes in your mind or in your dreams, is because you're picking up on the images and the atomic frequency of the people that you're dealing with in the Schumann resonance. You've had to come down to their level, so you're picking up on their thoughts, which is like, because you're dealing with the realms of the supernatural, you're mind melding with them, but because they're dealing with the Schumann resonance and the paranormal, they're trying to mind control you. So you see, it's a positive and negative impact, negative ions versus positive ions, two opposing magnetic forces trying to come together, and the only way you can deal with it is to completely walk away. You have to immediately recognize that what's happening isn't normal, that your mind is being bent to the will of somebody else, which is total and utter mind control, which is dark side. That is, you know, an Illuminati practice. That is, you know, someone who portrays themselves to be, you know, a good person standing in false light. This is done to control you, to manipulate your life and your will and your purpose to suit somebody else's outcome, and it is wrong, and it is a violation against the laws of the universe, and it will they will rack up karma for that. They will get punished for that. It will come back on them as karma. But what you need to do is, as soon as it starts happening, you need to recognize instantly, that's what it is. I've been around someone who is trying to change the outcome of my life to suit their situation, especially if there's like lawsuits involved and crimes involved and police investigations and that sort of thing. If all of a sudden you start feeling sorry for the perpetrator, and allowing victim blaming or victim shaming, that sort of thing, and then you're thinking, oh, maybe I should drop the lawsuit, maybe I should drop the investigation, maybe I should forgive them, maybe I should go back to them, like that sort of thing. That's not you, and it's not healthy. And once you recognize that, you need to immediately switch it up to a negative, higher vibration. And it's like I said to this person last night, the 4 highest vibrations in the universe is laughter, music, love, and faith. whatever your faith is, it doesn't have to be religion, but whatever it is that you tap into that makes you a higher, more positive, happy-go-lucky, best version of yourself. Tap into that, and that will immediately push them away. It will expel them. It's like a form of energetic exorcism, and then it goes back to them, whatever they sent out, because with the universe, whatever you send out comes back tenfold. That's just the laws of physics. Whatever you send out is going to come back stronger. Whatever they sent to you, once you're able to recognize what it is, you send it back to them, and they get what they sent to you tenfold. So then they rack up the karma points, and then you're set free. And that's how you liberate yourself from, the forces of negative energy or mind control. In the same regards as, when you go somewhere that's renowned for paranormal activity, or where you are creating the paranormal activity, that is because you are accessing a frequency that is lower than yours when you went into that environment, and then it triggers paranormal activity, or it reveals paranormal activity. So you'll either trigger the poltergeist activity because you've absorbed things that are now reflecting out as negative energy, and because energy has to go somewhere, it will hit objects and move objects, poltergeist activity. Or even like throw voices, so you'll hear children's voices, or feet running across the floor and that sort of thing. That's all kinetic energy. That is poltergeist activity. And in the wrong minds, it is dangerous, because you can use that sort of energy to control the lives of the people around you in a negative way. Also, it can reveal paranormal activity. So you'll go in because you're sort of, higher vibrational, you've moved into the house of your dreams. Everything's going well for you because you're high vibration. You're bringing up from the underworld. You're bringing up from the lower vibrations, because darker energies are attracted to the light like a moth to a flame. Narcissists feed off empathic people. Their light is like a food source to a narcissist. They cannot get enough of the empathic energy, like a moth to a flame. Like, they feed off it, because they don't know how to show love naturally, because they aren't empathic, because their grey matter is smaller and damaged, and they don't know how to be empathic and sympathetic and kind and loving and nurturing, because it's not in their DNA to do that. They have to copy it. They have to mimic it from people. They become the doppelganger to empath. And so they will attach themselves to empathic people in order to assimilate their actions and their surroundings, and, their actions and behaviors and their personality and that, and absorb it, like take it into them, so that they can get that power up from the positive energy that is coming off, or the light that is coming off the empath. It drains the empath, because in order to get the energy, they have to beat the empath down. They have to beat them down and bend their will to their submission. So, one of the things with covert narcissistic abuse is that, you'll have an intuitive feeling about something. Did I just hear you tell so-and-so that you hated me on the phone? No, I didn't. No, you're crazy. You're making it all up. Oh my God, why do you always do this? That's what narcissists do when it's covert abuse. And then you say, oh, well, maybe I heard wrong. And then you'll feel guilty, and you'll say, oh, look, I'm sorry about that. And then they'll act all wounded. But that was done on purpose. Yes, they would have said they wanted to hurt you over the phone. Yes, you did hear what you were hearing. But because they don't want you to know that they secretly don't love you, that they secretly probably can't stand you, that they want to hurt you, they want rid of you, but for whatever reason they need you for something and have to keep you around, they then beat you into submission with the mind control. And they do it using mental and emotional tactics. So then when you confront them and say, did I hear you say that you wanted to kill me over the phone? And they act all offended, and then blame you and tell you you're crazy and you're making it up and you heard wrong and blah, blah, blah. So then you go away and question yourself and think, oh, did I really, maybe I heard wrong, maybe they're right. And then you feel bad and guilty. That's because that's what they wanted you to think. They want you to feel bad and guilty. So then you'll go to them and say, look, I'm so sorry about that. I got it wrong. And then they act all wounded. That is a narcissistic tactic. That is a form of mind control. And they can do that with you from a distance without even you needing to be able to speak to each other. Because if all of a sudden you've gotten yourself away from that narcissist, boss, friend, family member, lover, partner, whoever, when you've gotten away from that person and you're healing and you're raising your vibration, when all of a sudden you get boom hit with that down thing of like, oh my God, I can't believe he did this to me. I can't believe she stole from me. I can't believe she blamed me for this. And then you think, I want them gone. I want them dead. I want them removed from the planet. I hate them so much. And then you're thinking, where is this coming from? Like, I was so happy. Why have they suddenly gotten into my head again? That's because they've gotten into your head, because they've sat there and said, I want to kill you. I want you gone. I wish you had never come into my life. I want to see you leave this earth. I want nothing to, that sort of thing. And you're picking up on their thoughts because mind melding, because you're dealing with the atomic frequency, because you're a creative empath. So you've melded with their mind, and because they're of a lower vibration, you're picking up on the thoughts they're sending out about you, which are dark and negative. So you're thinking their thoughts, thinking they're your thoughts, but they're not, they're theirs. And then what happens is they will say things like, she needs to apologize to me. She needs to come back and say she wants her job back. She needs to come back and say, I'm sorry, I accused you of stealing. Here, take it back. Or I've told the police to cut off the investigation. I've told the boss not to fire you because you didn't really send secret files to China, or what, like, I'm just making it up. Do you know what I mean? And then they'll send that to you, and then you'll pick it up and think, God, maybe I've read this whole thing wrong. Maybe I need to fix it, and that sort of thing. When it just comes out of the blue like that, that's them. And you need to recognize what that is immediately. And you need to stop it. You need to cut off that connection immediately by putting on high vibrational, happy, fun-loving music that's going to get your body going. Any music you put on that gets your foot tapping and your hips wriggling and, singing along, but it has to be high vibrational. It can't be anything that's all like sort of thing. Like, it needs to be high vibrational, like the sort of music you listened to when you were a kid. Put on the Muppets, like, watch a Muppets episode. Put on like one of your favorite cartoons, like I like to watch, not because if I have down moments, just because it's one of my favorite cartoons. I like to watch League of Super Evil. They're all available on YouTube. They just make me laugh so much. I constantly surround myself with nothing but high vibrational people and activities, the stuff that makes me laugh and keeps me laughing all the time, because that is a shield, and nothing and no one gets through my biometric frequency. They wouldn't dare try, because I recognize what it is and I know how to deal with it back. I know how to get them and have it hurt. I can punish people if I have to, and I only do that when I have to be the bounty hunter or the soul collector, i.e. my comic book. So people wouldn't dare mess with me now. They wouldn't even dare try. But you need to recognize what it is. And if you are a creative empath, or you are on the empath scale, because you have normal empaths, you have light walkers or light workers, and then you have creative empaths. And the creative empaths are the high functioning empaths. And they're the ones that usually get diagnosed with things like ADHD and autism. And it's unfair. It's just they work on a higher frequency than everybody else, and they get medicated, and they're ostracized socially, and I always say it's not for a creative empath to fit into society, it's for society to fit in around the creative empath. And so all my work and all of this is just because I'm trying to save the lives of creative empaths, because when they are on their their trip to the underworld and they don't know how to get out of it, and they're going through those repeat negative cycles, because you've got to remember these cycles keep repeating because you haven't learnt your karmic lesson. You haven't learnt the lesson from it, so it's become karmic debt. And it could be something that happened in a past life, and you need to recognize that. But these are what my podcasts are for. I will do these sort of things. I will do a podcast about how past lives affect current lives and all that sort of thing, especially when I get my radio station up and running. So, when cycles in your life repeat, it's because you haven't learned the lesson, and you've got to learn that lesson and pay off the karmic debt, and then the cycle will never repeat itself. So when you're having constant dark nights of the soul or trips to the underworld, it can be because you haven't learned a lesson about dealing with, those abusive kind of relationships, or being in those kind of jobs where you're treated less than you deserve to be treated, and, all that sort of thing. So recognize what it is, put something positive on, be around children, be playful with children. If you're around animals, children especially, they are so pure and so fun and so full of energy. Be around them, because then their energetic signature will rub off on you, and then your vibration will be raised. Do not turn to drugs or alcohol. Sit and draw something, sit and write something, sit and cook something, sew something, whatever your medium is, whatever your gift is, do that. Laugh with people, put your favorite music on, be with the people that you love, kisses, cuddles, hugs, that sort of thing, because their energetic signature will rub off on you and raise your vibration, because love is, there's nothing more beautiful than love, especially when it is the laughter coming from someone you love. Like that's like a double vibration, like mind flip that is. It's like adrenaline. It's like dopamine, a shot of dopamine to the brain. Or faith, whatever it is that you do, whether it is, burning incense at your altar, going to the graveyards to sit with your ancestors, your loved ones, and talk to them, sit with your Bible or your Quran, or, go to church or pray, or, however it is you connect to your faith, to your gods, to your ancestors, that is the highest vibration of them all. And then it might be a good idea to cleanse your home. But see, sage in that doesn't work. And do not, under any circumstances, use Palo Santo. Do not, under any circumstances, use Palo Santo. What you've got to realize with that is a sacred wood, and there's only like a handful of people in the world from native indigenous tribes in South America, that are ordained to use that wood. So the fact that people have access to that wood either means someone is stealing that wood, or someone from the tribes is selling that wood, and that is that's like breaking sacred laws. So don't touch it, because that is going to rub off on you. You will get karma for dealing with illegal substances that are of a high sacred nature. Like, you're breaking a lot of laws within the karmic universe when you're dealing with things that are like spiritually contraband, like Palo Santo. So do not touch Palo Santo. All I can say to you is, until I can get my Biorythmic spray out, and I can mass produce it to sell it in my store, the Alchemist Cavern, when we move to Canada, and until I can manufacture my Biorythmic field generator for the purposes of, sale within the populace, put some lavender. You can use lavender oil, actual lavender or lavender spray, front door, back door, put sprigs by your windows, or like use lavender oil and put little, like run it along your doors, your front door threshold, your back door threshold, and a sprinkle of salt, because it will keep negative energy, it will keep unwanted energy, unwanted visitors and that away from your home. And as long as you're in your home, you'll be protected. Otherwise, just keep like a pouch of lavender with you all the time, because it wards off negative energy. It pushes it back. It keeps it. Lavender is really good for keeping away anyone who tries to affect your mind and your emotions. So if you put lavender anywhere by your front door, back door, windows, or in your car, or like on your person, in your bag, or anything like that, then it keeps anyone who's trying to force negative emotions or negative thoughts or feelings onto you, it pushes it away. Um, so yeah, I will put the links to the Twitter below so you can see what I was talking about. But as soon as I'm able to, as soon as my boys and I and that are out of here, and we are able to get our station up and running and get our store up and running and that, then I can sell my products. Because I invented a biorhythmic spray. You can just use your spray and that will do everything for you. You can put it around your bed, your windows, your doors, like it's organic, it's not, there's no chemicals, so it's not gonna, hurt anything. So then, and then once I've actually been able to patent and manufacture my biorhythmic field generator for general sale, then all you'll need to do is just turn that on and it'll do everything for you as well. So I wanted to put that out there, to teach you the difference between mind meld and mind control. One is good and healthy and wonderful, and one isn't. If you suddenly get that feeling that your sister needs you, and you contact them and they say, I was just thinking about you, I just got test results and I've got to go into hospital, to have blah removed or to have so and so operated on, and you'll say, I was sitting there and I thought, I need to contact my sister, I need to contact them, and then I did, and here you are, sort of thing. That is beautiful. That's mind melding. It, in the paranormal terms, it's called telepathy. You can call it telepathy if you want, that's completely fine, but telepathy tends to fall more into the telepathy is kind of like the fulcrum of the scales between good and evil. If you're high vibrational, if you're if you're of the psychological mind that is more balanced, then the telepathy would be mind melding, knowing that your sister needs you and is thinking about you because they've gotten bad news, so you reach out to them and they tell you what that news is. But then if you're of the lower frequency, that is the mind control, where you have the ability to say to somebody, you need to drop those allegations, you need to come back to work and apologize, you need to come back to me because I refuse to let you go, that sort of thing. So it depends on you and where you are psychologically and how strong you are, and the balance between your conscious and subconscious mind, as to whether that ability is for the purposes of love and light, or for contempt and control. So yeah, but I've got a million podcasts ready to go about this sort of stuff when we get our station up and running. So I will leave it at that. I hope it helped you. Now you know what to do. Now you know what it is. You can recognize the signs of it and cut it off so that these people can no longer have control over you. And until next time, I will speak to you later. Ka kite anō. Mwah.